The road to Silent Hill was not a road a man chose. It was a road a man was led down, quietly, by something he did not yet understand. Harry Mason drove with one hand on the wheel and the other resting near his daughter. Cheryl was 7 years old. She had asked for this trip for weeks. "Please, Daddy, Silent Hill, just for a few days." And Harry, who had lost his wife 4 years ago and learned to say yes to the small things, had said yes. The mountains rose on either side of the Jeep like the walls of a throat. Fog slid down from the pines, pale and slow, until the headlights could only find 6 feet of asphalt at a time. 3 weeks earlier, Cheryl had begun to draw. Always the same picture: a town by a lake, a burning girl in the center of it. She could not explain it. She only said that the girl was waiting. Harry glanced at her in the rear view. She was asleep, her cheek against the window, her small hand curled around a folded tourist map. He told himself it was just a vacation. He told himself the fog was only fog. The sign came out of the white: "Welcome to Silent Hill." Harry did not slow down. He should have. At first, she was only a shape. A child's shape, standing in the middle of the road, small and still, where nothing living should have been. Harry's foot lifted from the gas. The headlights found her slowly. A girl, perhaps Cheryl's age, in a dark coat, her face turned toward the Jeep. She did not move. She did not flinch from the light. He pulled the wheel. Hard. The world tilted. Glass screamed. The Jeep left the road, and the road left the world, and for a long moment, there was only the sound of metal remembering its shape. When Harry opened his eyes, the windshield was a web of cracks, and the cabin was on its side. His forehead was wet. His shoulder would not lift the way shoulders lift. Cheryl. Her seat was empty. The belt hung loose. The door was open to the fog. He crawled out into the white. The snow had started, or something like snow, thin and gray, falling in a town where it was not winter. On the road's soft shoulder, small footprints, a child's footprints, walking away, straight into Silent Hill. Harry began to follow. The footprints led him through streets that should have been full. They were not. No cars idled. No shopkeepers swept. The diner's neon hummed to no one. A bicycle lay on its side in front of the hardware store, wheel still turning. Silent Hill was holding its breath. Somewhere far ahead, a siren began. Long, hollow, mechanical. The kind of siren towns built for wars that never came. Harry stopped. He listened. It did not stop. In an alley off Bachman Road, he found a baby stroller, empty, its small blanket neatly folded. A television in a shop window played gray static to a room full of dust. And then the walls began to change. The paint of the world peeled. Brick gave way to chain link. Asphalt rusted into grating, and beneath the grating was nothing. Only dark and the soft, wet sound of something moving. They came out of the alley mouths. Small, gray, wrong. The shape of children who had forgotten how to be children. Knives in their small hands. Mouths that were not mouths. Harry ran. He ran until the grating opened beneath him and the world tilted a second time, and the dark came up to meet him like a held breath finally let go. He woke in a booth. Red vinyl. A coffee cup, cold. The sign above the counter said Café 5 to 2, and the clock on the wall had stopped between 2 and 5. On the table before him, someone had left 2 things: A kitchen knife, clean, and a small plastic pocket radio, silent. Harry did not know who had left them. He only knew, in the way a man knows a bad dream is not over, that he was meant to take them both. The radio woke first. A dry pulse of static, like a heartbeat learning how to be afraid. It grew louder, and from the kitchen came a sound that was not kitchen. It came through the swinging door on ruined legs. Its arms were bound to its torso inside its own skin, and its mouth was sewn shut, and still it screamed, a wet, trapped scream that came from somewhere beneath the face. Harry raised the knife. He had never killed anything. He learned, in that narrow kitchen, that a man will learn anything for his daughter. When it was still, he sat on the tile and did not weep. He opened his wallet. Cheryl, on a swing, laughing, a summer he could almost still smell. He put the photograph back. He stood up. The street outside the cafe was quieter than the cafe had been. That was the trick of Silent Hill. It taught you to measure silence in layers. She stepped out from behind a squad car with her service pistol drawn. "Don't move!" Her name tag said Bennett. Her patch said Brahms Police Department. Her eyes said she had seen one impossible thing too many on her ride over, and she was not yet sure which side Harry was on. Harry raised his hands. He told her about the Jeep, about the fog, about the girl in the road, about Cheryl. Sybil Bennett lowered her pistol by inches. She had come down from Brahms on a routine call that had stopped being routine somewhere between the tree line and the town limits. Her radio was dead. Her cruiser would not start. She had not seen another living soul in Silent Hill. She pressed a spare handgun into Harry's palm. "Keep this. I don't know what's loose here, but it isn't animals." She would go back toward Brahms, find a working line, bring help. Harry watched her walk into the fog. He did not know yet that in this town, going for help was another word for going alone. Midwich Elementary School waited at the end of Levin Street like a held promise. The doors were unlocked. Of course they were. Inside, the hallway smelled of chalk and old rain. Children's drawings were pinned along the walls. Crayon sons, crayon houses, crayon families. And then, halfway down the corridor, the drawings changed. The same girl over and over. Black hair, hospital gown. Burning. He found the courtyard, a clock tower without hands. He found the music room, a piano whose keys waited for a sequence only the dead remembered. He solved it the way a man solves a nightmare, by giving up on understanding and simply listening. And then the siren came again. The lights did not dim, they bled. Walls grew teeth. The chalkboards became grates. The desks became cages. Midwich became its other self, the one that had been waiting beneath the paint all along. In the boiler room, beneath the school's lowest floor, something enormous uncoiled. Two heads split from one body like a flower learning to be wrong. Harry fought it in the dark, in the heat, in the sound of the boilers breathing. When it was over, he stood above a kernel of light caught in crystal, the fluoros, and he put it in his pocket like a man pocketing a loaded gun he did not yet know how to use. The church on Block Street had no congregation. Only a woman. She was older than she should have been, and younger than her eyes. A shawl over thin shoulders, candle soot on her fingers. She smiled at Harry the way people smile at a door they have been waiting a long time for someone to walk through. "The child is not yours," she said. She was split in two. One half walks in the fog. The other half burns in this town's heart. Harry did not understand. He only knew that she spoke of Cheryl the way a surgeon speaks of a wound. Alessa Gillespie, she named herself. If you want your daughter whole, go to the hospital. Alchemilla. Find the other half before the ritual finishes her. She pressed a folded map into his hand. Her palm was colder than the fog. Harry left the church and did not look back, and somewhere behind him, a candle guttered as if it had done its work. Alchemilla Hospital rose from the fog like a tooth. White tile, green paint, the kind of hospital smell that outlives whoever made it. A man met him in the reception, a doctor, tall, tired, too calm for a town like this. Michael Kaufman, he said. He claimed to be as lost as Harry. Harry did not believe him. He did not say so. In the basement, behind a door that should not have opened, he found a child's room. A small, burned bed. Walls covered in overlapping drawings of the sun, the same sun, halo of the sun, drawn by a hand that could not stop drawing it. A hospital tag on a nightstand. Gillespie, Alessa, age 7. The siren came again. The green tiles rusted, the walls bled. Alchemilla became what Alchemilla was underneath. Nurses walked the corridors on bent legs, faces wrapped in gauze, scalpels steady in their hands. Harry moved through them the way a swimmer moves through a current, not fighting, only surviving. He found her in a storeroom, crouched, shaking. Lisa Garland, a young nurse, young enough to still look afraid. "I keep seeing them," she said. "I keep seeing Alessa. I can't remember when I started." Blood slid from her nose, slow and dark. "Harry, am I one of them?" He did not answer. He could not answer. He stepped back and he closed the door between them, and from the other side of the wood, very softly, she began to scream. Not in pain, but in understanding. Harry walked away. It was not the first thing he would not forgive himself for. It would not be the last. Toluca Lake did not look like a lake. It looked like a mirror someone had breathed on and forgotten. Dahlia waited on the boardwalk. The lighthouse stood behind her, blinking once, twice, patient. "7 years ago," she said, "you and your wife drove this road. You found a child on the shoulder, a newborn, wrapped in a blanket, warm still. You took her home. You called her Cheryl." Harry remembered. He had told himself for 7 years that it had been luck, a gift. He had not asked what kind of town leaves a newborn on the shoulder of a mountain road. "She is not a foundling," Dahlia said. "She is half. The other half lies in a hospital bed in this town, burned 7 years and still burning. My daughter, Alessa." Harry drew the pistol Sybil had given him. He did not raise it. He could not decide who to aim it at. The lake, the woman, himself. Behind them, the lighthouse blinked once more. The fog parted for a breath around a door that had not been there a moment before. The door opened onto a place that had no name. Later, Harry would call it Nowhere because no other word fit. It was every room he had walked that day folded into one. The cafe booth sat beside the boiler room. The school piano waited against a hospital wall. Corridors ended in corridors he had already survived. On a small desk that belonged to no house, he found a letter in his wife's handwriting. "Jody, 4 years dead. If you're reading this, something has gone wrong. I never wanted to tell you what we found that night." He folded the letter without finishing it. Some things a man reads only once. On another desk, a drawing. Cheryl's first. A town, a lake, a little girl holding a man's hand. No fire yet. Kaufman stepped out of a shadow that should have been empty. He pressed a small glass vial into Harry's palm, a pale amber liquid, sediment drifting. White Claudia, Dahlia's drug. Her ritual needs her awake and lucid. Throw this at her, break her focus, break the ritual. Harry did not ask why Kaufman had it. In Silent Hill, everyone was carrying someone else's sin. He closed his hand around the vial and he walked deeper into nowhere, toward a light that was not light, toward a room that had been waiting for him since before Cheryl had learned to draw. The altar room was round. The floor was carved with a sun that did not shine. Candles at every point of the circle. Smoke that did not rise straight. In the center sat a girl in a wheelchair, 14 years old perhaps older, perhaps younger. No one burning for 7 years keeps their age. Her skin was a landscape of old fire. Her eyes were open. Her eyes were Cheryl's eyes. At her feet, on the cold stone, lay an infant. Newborn, pale. Not breathing yet, not the way the living breathe. Dahlia stood at the edge of the circle, arms raised, triumphant. The god is almost born. The two halves come home. My daughter gives her flesh, and God gives us the world. Harry reached into his pocket. He did not throw the vial. He drew the fluoros, the crystal from the boiler room, kernel of light, and he spoke no word, because no word was left in him. The fluoros opened. The light it carried did not belong to this town. It struck Dahlia's ritual the way a key strikes a lock from the wrong side. The circle turned on its maker. Her god denied its vessel, took what was nearest, and Dahlia went up in a column of her own fire, brief and complete, a woman consumed by the altar she had built. The burned girl in the wheelchair lifted her head. She looked at Harry, and for the first time in 7 years, Alessa Gillespie smiled. "Thank you," her eyes said. "Take what is left of me home." The light gathered. Two halves, the burned girl and the silent infant, folded into one. When the light was gone, the wheelchair was empty, and the altar was empty, and on the cold stone, only a single healthy newborn remained. Small chest rising, small chest falling. Harry Mason knelt. He lifted her. He did not weep yet. That would come later, on a road, in a jeep, beside a woman who had lived. Silent Hill began to come apart above them. The walls of nowhere folded inward, quietly, the way a held breath finally escapes. Harry carried the infant up through corridors that were already forgetting how to be corridors. Behind him, the altar room collapsed without sound. Ahead, a stair, a door, and beyond the door, the town, grayer than before, and a street he half recognized. A jeep idled at the curb, engine running, headlights cutting the fog. Sybil Bennett sat behind the wheel, pale, a dark stain at her shoulder, her jaw set against the pane. She had not gone back to Brahms. She had come back for him. Harry climbed into the passenger seat with the baby in his arms. Sybil looked at the child. She looked at Harry. She asked no questions. In Silent Hill, a woman learned quickly which questions were kindnesses and which were not. The jeep pulled away from the curb. Behind them, the siren began one last time, far off, already fading. The fog closed over the town like a lid. In Harry's arms, the infant stirred. She opened her eyes, dark, wet, real, and she cried. Not the cry of a cymbal, the cry of a child who had just been born into a moving car in a cold evening on a mountain road. Sybil glanced across. "Your girl?" Harry looked down at the small face in his jacket, at the shape of a mouth he had watched laugh on a playground swing, at a daughter who had been two people and was now, at last, one. "Yes," he said, "my girl." The jeep crossed the town line. The sign fell behind them into the mist. Somewhere in the fog, somewhere beneath the lake, Silent Hill settled back into its long patience. It would wait. It always waited. But tonight, one man drove out of it with his daughter asleep against his chest. And tonight, that was enough. Tonight, that was everything.